Well, I hope that you all enjoyed your meal. If you would you please give Sodexo and their serving staff a round of applause for their service tonight? Tonight we get to add 4 members to the Bethel College Athletic Hall of Fame. We've had a lot of great athletes that have come through our program and have excelled in their sports. We had a lot of great coaches that have done pretty remarkable things. But to get to the Hall of Fame, you need to do more than just excel on the field or on the court. You also need to exemplify what it means to be a Bethel College athlete, and then as you go on after you graduate, to be able to maintain that standard and serve God and serve others faithfully as you continue your life's journey. So the people that we are recognizing tonight are great athletes, great coach, no doubt about that, but they're also great individuals, and their lifestyle has been one in which we're very proud of, and one which I think has also been very God-honoring. So that is the reason that they're being inducted into our Hall of Fame this evening. We are going to go through the inductees in alphabetical order tonight, so we'll begin with Ryne Lightfoot, and to present Ryne Lightfoot's induction, his dad, Mike Lightfoot, will come to the podium.
We have great family communication, so I found out this real soon, like, hey, Dad, you're going to do this. So bear with me. It's an honor. It really is an honor for me to recognize and represent and present Ryne Lightfoot in the Bethel College Hall of Fame, probably one of our greatest honors. It could be said that Ryne was born to be a Bethel basketball player. He actually had a blue chin when he was born from the birth canal, and it was a Bethel blue, so I knew that there could be potential for him to do something like that. It could be said that he was going to be a Bethel basketball player because he attended Bethel camp from the time he was age 5 and never missed a camp the rest of the way. And so he knew the camp better than anybody else. It can be said that Ryne was born to be a Bethel basketball player, so he saw so many great teams play in Goodman and Wycamp Center. And it could be said that Ryne was born to be a Bethel basketball player because he was able to see the model of guys like Rico Swanson and Ryan Bales and Michael Edison play with an incredible amount of intensity. It could be said that Ryne was born to be a Bethel basketball player because of the time in the backyard playing against his older brother, the 1,000 one-on-one games that created this hard-nosed, tough little brother that became a big little brother. And eventually Ryne won more of those games, and then we finally quit doing it. It could be said that Ryne was born to be a Bethel basketball player because he saw his mom and how she poured into the lives of the Bethel players. And but it really can be said that he was born to be a Bethel basketball player because his mother slept with the head coach. Yeah. It's true, though, that Ryne hates to lose. And anybody that has played with him, against him, or coached with him, or coached with him, or against him, or has played for him knows that he absolutely hates to lose. Ryne, you were a self-made player. Your leadership skills and your basketball IQ made you who you are today. But our mom and dad want you to know that we're just proud of your Christian commitment, your walk with the Lord, and your intensity to serve your Heavenly Father. So, Ryne, it's an honor to serve and present you with the Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Well, it could be said that I hate speaking in front of people. I did write down some notes. Oh, these are stat sheets. We lost. this pocket. I did write down a little bit. I don't like a whole lot of notes and speeches. I really hate people and crowds. I don't like speaking in front of people, and people know me. I hate getting dressed up. So I'm out of my element right now. But I want to tell a quick story about what happened to me. I was a sophomore in high school, and our family went on a spring break trip to Siesta Key. And I'm sitting in an airport and get on a plane, and I'm thinking this is going to be a great week, and I'm going to have a fun time just kind of being on the beach and away from school for a while. And we're flying out of Chicago, and I'm sitting on the plane, and I just kind of get in my own little world. People who fly and do that stuff, pop in the headphones, kind of sit back and relax. And I'm sitting next to a guy, I don't know who he is, and I'm just kind of not paying attention to him, but just kind of looking. He's reading a book, and I was like, man, the guy reading the book kind of looks a lot like the guy on the back cover. And I was really confused by it, didn't think anything of it. And next thing you know, 2.5 hours later, I've probably taken a nap, and I was reading myself. And next thing you know, we get off the plane, and I was like, you know what? That is that guy. The guy on the back cover is the guy reading the book. And come to find out, it was John Maxwell. And I was sitting next to one of the greatest leadership guys of all time for 2.5 hours on a flight to Florida, right next to John Maxwell. And I can remember we went flying through the airport trying to find him. And I just thought it was so fitting for this time, because so often greatness is all around us and we just don't realize it. And for me to be inducted in this class and to have this group of people, I see what they've accomplished, and I kind of wonder what the heck did I even do to get in this group, and seeing what they did. And so I'm just honored to be around those guys. Speaking of greatness around me, I think that there's other things that come to mind too. It's just the teammates I was around. I know we have a lot of athletes in the crowd right now, and understanding that these accomplishments are not done without a team. And I think that I've had a great team at home. I've had a great team and teammates and coaches, and there's a million different thank yous that I could give out. But individual success comes from team success. And I think a lot of times we take for granted of the games that we won here as a group and how these things are accomplished. And I think, you kind of stole my joke. I got an opportunity. One of the players, they announced the class, and one of our players said, what did you even do to get in this thing? I said, well, it's amazing what can happen when your mom sleeps with the head coach. Because I really don't know what I did, but I'm grateful to be in the class, because there's a lot of really capable people that have done this. I've had the opportunity to grow up around Bethel. I've been here ever since I was born. Growing up, having a chance to live on campus. When our house was being built, we're moving homes. So I grew up on a trailer on the opposite side of campus, and just sneaking over at nights and going to the gyms and shooting shots late at night and reenacting game-winning shots that happened here. So Bethel's kind of been my whole life, and I've got an opportunity to really kind of reflect on what makes Bethel special. And I've always said, what's Bethel's wow factor that they have? And as I look at Bethel, it's not the track facility. It's not the rock climbing wall. We don't have all the bells and whistles that a lot of schools do, but I tell you what we do have. Our wow factor is our product. And our product have always been our people. And as you look at the class that's going in, and you look at the people we've been putting out for the last decades, our product has always been something that's been really, really special. And I know today is supposed to be a time that we look at and we recognize times of achievement and what you've done as a group and what we've done as a team, and I'm grateful for that. But I want to leave you guys with not my biggest success as an athlete here. I want to leave you guys with what my biggest failure was here as an athlete. And for those guys that are sitting out here, young, old, I don't really care if you're a freshman or if you're a senior, my biggest regret and my biggest failure here was not investing in the people beneath me. And I think as you guys look at accomplishments and banners and championships, and we had an opportunity to win a bunch of those, and I'm grateful for that. But what I really kick myself as I go through this process is not investing in the people below me. I tell our team this all the time, that I wish I would have invested and left a legacy behind me that outlived me. We just got back from the leadership conference, and we talked about the opportunity to say, you know, we're building a culture of winning, and we want to be a part of culture where we're winning, but we want to leave a brand behind us. I think Bethel basketball has always had a brand of success. And what I've done a poor job of is taking that and making that about me. These awards are never about you. It's about investing and giving back. So if you're a senior here, I challenge you guys to be the most invested in your program as possible. Try to replace yourself as you're here. And I think a lot of times we want to internalize our success. We want to hold on to our success. But true success is making other people succeed. And I think that I didn't realize that when I was a student. And my gift or my hope is, I don't care if you're in business, I don't care if you're a student, to find people that replace you, because those people are irreplaceable. So thank you for the opportunity to be up here. I'm very grateful. There's a million different thank yous I could give out to family, to friends, to teammates, to current coaching staffs, people that have held me accountable and helped me get better. I'm grateful for the award. I do not do well with recognition and awards, but I do appreciate them and understand there's a lot of work. So congratulations to the rest of the class. I'm honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
In my life before Bethel College, I was the head baseball coach at a college way out in northwest Iowa. And I tried to get to the American Baseball Coaches Association's meetings as often as I could. And when I could get there, the sessions that I always wanted to go to were the ones that Sam Riggleman was doing. Outstanding coach and a great teacher. And little did I know that our paths would be able to cross again later on here at Bethel. So at this time we are going to present Sam Riggleman for the Hall of Fame, and his presenter is Dr. Dennis Engbrecht.
It was in the spring of 1994. Mike Lightfoot was the athletic director, and we were looking to replace Hall of Fame baseball coach Richard Felix. And I went over to Dick Patterson, excuse me. I got the wrong Richard there. Dick Patterson, that's right. I think I know I'm in the right place. What's the address here? You know, age does play tricks on you. I like my new toupee. My false teeth fit just fine. I like my new bifocals, but oh, how I miss my mind. Dang, it's tough. Anyway, we were looking for a coach. Thanks for catching that, Mike. And Mike had just a stack of resumes in front of him. And a little later, I saw Coach Patterson, and he approached me. And he said, "Say, you guys are looking for a coach." He said, "There's one guy I want to recommend." He said, "A lot of those guys that are applied, apparently he had access to them. He said, they're not going to do the job." He said, there's a fellow by the name of Sam Riggleman. And if you get a chance, you should hire him." Well, we got a chance, and we hired Sam Riggleman. I had a great opportunity of working with Sam for the years that he was here. He came in '94. A little correction there on the sheet. I can correct others too, as well as be corrected. And he came in '94, in the fall of '94. He was here 5 years. Most people knew him as Coach Riggleman, or as the Dean of Students, because it was shortly after he'd been here, there was a vacancy in the area of student development. And Sam came and said, you know, I'd be interested in that. So we sat down and talked, and very quickly, and I'd already witnessed it in the lives of the players that he had been coaching, is that this was a person who invested in young men. He put a great deal of emphasis upon their character development, not just their swing, not just the way they delivered their fastball, but how they treated other people, how they related to their creator, how they lived out a life of integrity. And so while others called him coach, I called him a colleague. I called him a dear friend. And we had this little routine that we used to go through, and it would begin in late July. and we would begin planning for the new year and planning for a retreat for our resident assistants and resident directors. And Sam always thought that the best thinking comes when you have a fishing pole in your hand. And so we would head up to Kathy's father's lake. There was actually a private lake in which he was building cabins around and selling them off. And we would get in a boat at night and go out a little ways, and he'd show me how to hook up a Texas rig. I didn't know what a Texas rig is. I thought that's what happened every time Texas played Nebraska, my alma mater. A Texas rig, that's what I thought it was. But it's actually putting a rubber worm on a hook. And we caught a lot of fish. But most important about that is that then we'd sit around the fire, make some fish worthy of eating, and camp out that night and talk about this next year and spend time on our knees and spend time praying for each individual that was going to influence the life of another individual. I think maybe one of the greatest attributes that Sam Riggleman has is the way that he has invested in the lives of other people. There are dozens of baseball coaches at the collegiate and at the high school level across America who played for Coach Riggleman. And because they played for him, they've adopted his love for the game, but also his passion for Christ. This is a man who has pursued Jesus all of his life, and he's passed that on to another generation. And in doing so, he's inspired others to do the very same thing that he has done for so many years. I believe this is the 5th Hall of Fame, Sam, that you've been inducted into. One of these days, Mount Vernon Nazarene's going to get smart and make them the 6th, you know? They have? Well, then those Nazarenes are smarter than I thought they were. All right. Glad to hear that. And so, but none is as important, of course, as this one tonight. And I want to just tell you how pleased I am to introduce to you my good friend and newest member of the Hall of Fame, Coach Sam Riggleman.
Ryne, for a guy that, where are you? The guy doesn't like to speak publicly. You did okay, man. Just so you know. So sometimes fright brings out the best. So maybe that's part of it. Well, first and foremost, it's my privilege to extend congratulations to the other 3 members of this Hall of Fame class. And I need to tell you, not having coached here during the time frame that those 3 were actually participating, it was a lot of fun to go back and look at resumes and see what accomplishments were achieved during that time, during their careers. And I think it goes without say that certainly well-deserved. And so I just want to extend my congratulations there. Tom contacted me by email in January, and I must be honest with you, I was caught off guard. As a matter of fact, I might even have been a little bit stunned when I received word that I'd been selected to be part of this class. And it immediately caused me to do some pretty significant reflecting. You know, Dennis kind of shared that what took place back in 1994, and I was so pleased to see Dick Patterson here, and I was hoping that that would be the case when I got here. But I need to tell you a little bit about what transpired and how that whole thing took place. At that time, I was coaching at Southern Illinois University. I initially had gone there as the assistant coach, was in charge of pitching and recruiting. The guy that I was working for ended up leaving Southern Illinois University and took the head job at the University of Illinois. And I was fortunate enough to be named the head coach at Southern Illinois University. That was a dream. In fact, that was an aspiration to be able to be a Division I head coach. I remember clearly in the spring of 1993 we had opened our season at Oklahoma State University, and at that point in time, Oklahoma State was one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the entire country at the Division I level. Legendary coach Gary Ward was there. We went in and played them in a 2-game series. Got beat the first game, and in the second game, we somehow managed to control a team that was averaging 10 runs a game and walk off with a 2-1 win. Number 4 team in the country at that time, and so, wow, what an accomplishment. We get done with the game, and I'm the last guy out of the dugout. Team had left. They were getting ready to get on a bus to go shower. We had an 8-hour bus drive back to Carbondale. And as I am walking up the steps to go to the press box to meet with our sports information director, as clearly as I am speaking to you right now, God just whispered in my ear and said, "So what?" And then followed it with, "What difference does this make?" And it was at that point that I began to rethink what I was doing. The coaching position at Southern Illinois University turned into a job. And the call that I had, which was to disciple and mentor young men, was all of a sudden taking the back seat for the need to win. And I'm so grateful that I was at least aware enough to sense that. And so it was out of that that I began to think differently about where I was and what I was doing. And Dick Patterson was probably the most surprised. I thought I was surprised when I got the email regarding this. Dick had to be more surprised when he got a call from me, because I asked about the position at Bethel, and he said, "Who are you calling for?" And when I told him myself, I think he probably, there was silence on the phone for a minute. But what I recognized at that point is that I needed to be back in Christian college environment. That's where I was most effective. And so that whole thing evolved. Matter of fact, we had to keep a lid on it for a period of time for a lot of reasons. Mike, you know that. And it was a tough call to try to accomplish all that. Now, having said all that, my wife and I made a decision. Our kids didn't even know. And it was in April the following spring then that decision had to be made on what I was going to be doing next, and finally the word got out. I will tell you this. You know, I made several moves throughout the course of my career. The move to Mishawaka was the most difficult. And it was the most difficult because of the timing and the age of our kids. Jeremy was getting ready to go into his senior year in high school. Sarah was a junior. And so here I'm asking them, as well as my wife, to leave an area, to leave friends, and to start over. And I will be the first to admit to you, as I can still reflect back on some of the conversations that transpired, it was a disruption in their lives. And yet, providentially, and in hindsight, our daughter Sarah met a young man by the name of Andrew Yoakum, who has been just an incredibly faithful father and husband. Logan, Laura, their 2 kids. Both of you stand up, would you please, so you can be recognized. There you go. Thank you. And think about a life mate. And then Jeremy, who decided it would take a little longer than normal. Those guys that know him know that to be the case. Ran into this young gal by the name of Kara at St. Mark Missionary Church, right here in Mishawaka. Married her. They just returned from California. Jeremy is now on the faculty at Taylor University in the art department. They've got 2 young ones. They both are out of control right now. You heard Levi screaming over here earlier tonight. But again, I think back about the difficulty of a move, and yet following God's lead. And as it has turned out, what has transpired in that time. You know, I actually was at 6 different institutions, and every single one of them brought something special. Something special in terms of my development, both as a coach and as an administrator. They were very, very important. The final 14 years of my career, I actually got to go back to my alma mater, which was such an important piece for me personally, to finish out my career. But I will tell you this, without question, the greatest 5 years of my coaching occurred right here. They were the best. I had the opportunity day after day after day to work alongside Mike Lightfoot. Matter of fact, Mike, I had a front row seat in the northwest corner of Goodman Auditorium and watched 3 national championship basketball teams. It was phenomenal. That place was phenomenal. I don't know why you ever moved into the Wycamp Center, you know. People hated it, and you knew it. And then working with Dennis, one of the great highlights of my professional career. And the time we spent together just crafting things and working through things in student development, I just had a blast. I consider him a great friend, and will always. It was just a great time. You know, Spring Arbor joined the Crossroads League, and so you know, I had a lot of fun competing in the Crossroads League. Had some of my former players who are head coaches in that league. The most difficult place for me to coach was here, to come back in a different uniform here. And it isn't because there was anything bad. Matter of fact, it's just the opposite. I have such great memories of the teams that I coached while I was here during that 5-year period. So grateful. I'm surprised Ryan Thompson and Christie are here. It was a key part of a couple of clubs. Curveball was pretty good, Ryan, back in those days. I don't know what it is now. You probably can't throw one now, so probably can't even lift your arm now. So, and Craig Sherwood, I had more fun coaching you. I had more laughs coaching you. Maybe that was it. It was just an absolute blast. I don't know anybody that at that point in time swung as hard as you did, hit it as far as you did. It was just a lot of fun being able to coach you. And Seth, there's still balls that are flying somewhere around Mishawaka that you hit. But I think about that. I think about coaches. Dick Seiler, what an investment. I mean, he's been here forever now. And he and his wife, Margie, was actually scorekeeper for me initially. She was in the dugout. There's one thing I did not like about her. She brought these big buckets of bubble gum. Our guys threw it on the floor, and I always stepped in it. Do you ever do that? That was Dick Seiler's wife. But I think about all those things. That's why it was so difficult to come back, because all of a sudden you have these images of what it was like and what went on. There's another reason why it was such a great place, and this one will never change. Single greatest highlight of my coaching career was coaching our son Jeremy here for 4 years. I got to watch him grow and mature in 4 years. Mike, I know what you know what that is like. You are and will always be my most favorite player. Craig, you need to know that. Just as a side note, just so you know this, so about the last year I'm coaching at Spring Arbor and we're playing here. I'm in the dugout and one of my guys comes to me and says, "Coach, there's a guy out here that says he is the greatest player that ever played for you." And I immediately said, "It's got to be Craig Sherwood." And I turned around the corner and sure enough, there he is, right there. So I retired in the spring of 2016, and on numerous occasions people have asked me why. I thought 40 years was enough, but some people didn't. As a matter of fact, the president that I was working for at Spring Arbor looked at me and said, "You got another 8 or 10 years in you." And I thought, not me, buddy. I had a partner and companion for now almost 46 years. She sacrificially gave for 40 years. And a large part of the reason why I stepped away is that whatever time I have left, I want to give to her. She is my first love. She's been a great companion. My wife, Kathy. You got to at least raise your hand. I count it an honor to be part of this class. I'm so grateful that you would even think that I'm worthy of that. When I made the move to come here, this is my final comment to you. When I made the move to come here, there was one commitment I made to myself that was really important. And it was simply this, that no young man who ever came under my direction as a head coach would ever leave from my program without having an opportunity to respond to the claims of Christ. And I hope that every player that has played for me is able to say, that's exactly right. Again, thank you so much, and I really appreciate being part of this stellar group. Thanks.
Earlier today, we had the Hall of Fame golf outing over at Blackthorn Golf Course. It was a great success, but I think Chris Tilbury was personally responsible for about 6 or 7 of the teams that were there. So we were really privileged to have him be part of that and all that he brought to the golf outing. And now we get the honor of inducting him into our Hall of Fame. His presenter this evening is Chris Hess.
All right, I've got my notes here. Okay, gotcha. Lower it for you? Yeah. All right. 3 years ago, I had the honor to introduce Rico Swanson, a 5'9" point guard with the men's basketball program. 2 years ago, 5'2" shooting guard, Abby Knoll from the women's basketball program. This year, I'm honored to introduce Chris Tilbury, who settles somewhere in between the two of them. The reason I share that, though, is Chris Tilbury was a giant, an absolute giant for our men's golf program, he really transformed our program, first of all, with his talent. I got a couple little stories, and they're really both from the first tournament, and I know you've heard me tell this story a lot of times, but fall of 2003, and Chris's first collegiate tournament, and I think the name of the course, that's not important, but he stepped up to the tee he's paired with these 2 other guys from some other schools. They're both 6'4", corn-fed, chewing steroids, probably why they're playing. And, each one of them stepped up to the tee and hit their tee shot. Next guy hit their tee shot. It's Chris's turn. First collegiate shot. And I'd seen him play, but you never know until this is the real deal. Chris gets up and there's a sound when Chris hits the ball that's a little bit different. But the look on these guys, you didn't notice because you're watching your ball, but the look on these guys' faces, I wish I could describe it. It was just like, wow, okay, we're in for a long day. And it was an exciting day because our team had not, the program, it had been 30 years since we had won a golf tournament. About 5 hours later, which maybe 5, it's college golf, maybe it was 7 hours, I know that we're close. Things are looking good. I walk out to the fairway. Chris is on the 18th fairway. And I walk out to him, and he looks at me, and I think he could probably tell I was a little bit nervous because we were in the hunt. He said, "What's going on?" I said, well, Chris, what do you want to know? And he said, tell me everything. I said, well, we need a birdie. You're our last player on the course. We need a birdie to win this tournament. And he looks at me and he says, I got your birdie, which you don't do. First maybe, Chris. So he proceeds to hit it to about 3 feet, makes a putt. We win this tournament. It had been, again, 31 years since the early 70s that we'd won a tournament. I can still remember, and this will probably age me a little bit, getting in the van and seeing the guys each open their flip phones to call and tell people. I remember calling my wife and saying, hey, we won. And she was like, you what? Anyway, I know that I tell a lot of my players from many years, and I think it's something that Ryne alluded to, and even Sam with that whisper that you had. We're not defined by the things that we do. But I have to share a few of these because, again, Chris, with his talent, really did transform our program. Over the next 4 years, after that 30-year drought, Chris was a 3-time NCCA All-American, a 2-time MCC Player of the Year, led his team 4 times to NCCA Nationals, led his team 2 times to the NAI Nationals, led his team to the first and still only, unfortunately, conference title in 2006. I graduated with a single season and career scoring records and was a 14-time medalist. An amazing career. And a lot of that was because of the talent that Chris had. But the next phase of Chris's career, I think, happened, the second part was Chris became a leader. And I think, we've never really talked about this, but I think Chris figured out that he couldn't do it alone. And he really started to focus on being a leader and bringing his teammates along just by showing his work ethic, encouraging, holding his teammates accountable, pushing his coach, asking more from his coach. And we really, then Chris brought that program to new heights. And that's, I think, not just the talent, but then the leadership that he began to show. And finally, this is probably something that we don't really, at least I haven't talked about, and again, not really had a lot of discussion with Chris, but Chris's faith is something that's interesting to me because it's always cool to see where a young man or young lady come in as a freshman and just to watch them grow. Chris Tilbury is not a man of many words, but just lives out his faith, and I know that he still does. Humility would be a word that describes Chris to me. Chris was great with my kids. He was genuine. He was real. He has a servant's heart. I know he still does. I see that even today, all these years later. I think those are the things that I'm most proud of, and I'm just really proud of you and glad that I can introduce you and be a part of tonight and welcome you to the Hall of Fame.
I can't use those notes? Okay. First of all, I want to say congratulations to everybody that's in the class, and kind of what Ryne alluded to earlier. I'm not very good with words and how to say it, and I think Coach alluded to that. You sit there and you wonder why. Why this year? What do I do special? All that stuff. So I guess I'm going to go through thank yous is the best way to say it, because I got a lot of special people here tonight. So let's start with Coach Hess. He was somebody that I looked up to, still do. The thing he does not tell you about that story is in high school and in college, I don't think I've ever shared this story, is that both of my first events as a freshman and as a freshman in college, the first event was canceled. Coach might remember, we went to Indianapolis on Sunday. We got to play a practice round. Monday's the event. We drive all the way to Indianapolis. We get there. We're a mile and a half from the golf course. And we checked in pours down rain. No practice round, golf course is closed. We go to the hotel. I think we're in the hotel a half hour, and tournament's canceled. So now what do? You drive all the way back to Bethel from Indianapolis. You didn't play a match. You didn't do anything. But that was kind of God's way of saying, okay, this isn't the right place. We're going to start in St. Joe. I think St. Joe is where we were at. In Rensselaer is where the first event was. So that's kind of a backstory to that. I think why I was here at Bethel, I was very much, Coach, when he emailed me in December, maybe it was, saying, hey, you need to fill out this form for the Hall of Fame. They want to know individual statistics and all that stuff. I said, Coach, I have none of those. I said, I have no idea. I can tell you when we won team events. I can tell you how we did as a team. I have no idea what I did as individuals. He goes, don't worry, I got all that information. I said, thank goodness, because I can go through the trophy or whatever. We can try to figure it out, but I can't do the individual stuff. Lucky enough, my roommate in college was the best man at my wedding, and we've reconnected. He is now a member at the facility. I am very blessed, as Ryne is, I know. Golf is a sport I absolutely love, and I play every day. I am at the golf course every day doing something. I don't know if I play every day. I guess I don't do that. But I'm at the golf course every day doing what I love, being part of that. So, Coach, thank you for all you did. I don't know half of it, so thank you. The men in the back, Ken Wirtz was my high school coach. Probably as far as the team stuff, he's the one who taught me about the team stuff. I remember a distinct conversation between the two of us as a freshman. Played pretty well as a freshman in high school. I remember the first tournament we played in. He played 5. That was kind of his rule, that a freshman can't play any higher than 5 to start. We'll work the way up the lineup as you play. For those who don't play golf, 5 is supposedly the worst player on the varsity, and then it goes 1 is the best. And I remember a coach coming up to me after the second hole and goes, if you're the number 5, we'll hand you the state title right now. I'm like, oh, great. Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette has called Coach, would like to do an interview. And he goes, Chris, they're going to call you to do an interview. The thing you have to do is you have to turn it back onto your team. Don't talk about yourself. Don't just keep pushing it back on the team. So I did that. We were fairly old. We had a lot of seniors. I was a freshman. And I won a lot of trust in that conversation. The article came out. It was perfect. Talking about the seniors, talking about his 2 sons were on the team, talking about those. And that really helped. So Coach taught me a lot as a high school player to get into that. So I really appreciate, Coach, all you did and all. I mean, I'm sure I was not anywhere close to perfect. I'm sure I was a rugrat. So I appreciate putting up with that and turned me into the team player that hopefully I was for Coach Hess. Grandma, Leona Tilbury, she is the one that traveled to all the golf matches. Probably my teammates would best know her because she made cookies for all the golf matches. I know that's what my high school players would know, and that's what my teammates at college would know. The one story that I have with her, besides going to all the golf matches, and I probably hit her a dozen times because she kept standing in front of me, and the ball didn't go where I wanted it to go, but I hit her a couple times. The reason I stand here today is because her husband passed away when I was 12. He had a fishing boat. I'm 12. I can't fish. Don't have any way to get to the lake. So I decided to play golf. And I'm standing here today because of that. And thank you for traveling to all those events. The other thing people don't know is I'm very emotional, so that's not very good either. We'll go to my sister. Thank you. My sister and her husband are here. I'll go on saying limit. She's the best golfer in the family. She should be anyway. She could easily play college golf anywhere she wanted to and took another job, but she pushed me to be the best I could be every day. Luckily, academics weren't, well, I wouldn't say my strong suit, but she was very much smarter than I, so she had the academic side matched, and I didn't have to worry about that. I'd take over the golf side and the sports side. I preferred that. So, but she's been always somebody there that when there was an issue or a problem, I knew I could pick up the phone, call her, and she would talk me through it. Randy and Jill Garrick, which are my in-laws. My mother-in-law has a great story about me. She reminds me every time I go to her house. So you have the PTO carnivals, and you have, all the things where you have the putting games that you sit there and putt. Well, sure, I'm a golfer, so I just sit at the putting game and collect tickets because I just kept trying to make putts. And she would kick me off the game and come back, and little did she know I'd marry her daughter, and she'd have this story that she tells for her whole entire life. So I appreciate that, and Randy is, plays golf, and we enjoy that together. I enjoy spending time at the lake with them. Don't do it nearly enough, but I do appreciate them coming over from Angola to do that. Talking about my parents, could not do anything without them. There's like any other sport you play. There's lessons, there's camps, there's, in golf, there's tournaments. And unfortunately, when you go to tournaments, a lot of times you're going to tournaments by yourself, as far as you're not taking a team or an individual. So there was countless miles on the road going to tournaments, doing different things like that. Lessons, I grew up in a town where you basically had to drive 20 minutes to get lessons. So we went up about 20 minutes to the north to do lessons. And that was, 3 times a week. And back then I thought that was like really too far to drive to go to golf lessons. Now it's just down the road, it seems like, anymore. So I appreciate all that. Golf is not a cheap sport by any stretch of the imagination. There was a lot of financial sacrifice that they did to play in these events and travel, and really appreciate all that they did. I'm sure they hated going to all the events. So one story I don't tell Dad enough, and he hates me for it. But so Jessica, my wife, we are dating in high school. This is the first event Dad decides he's not going to. Chris, you're 16 or 17. You can drive. Drive to the tournament. We got to go to somewhere in Michigan, up by Detroit. So I've got my car, and my wife, my girlfriend at the time. We're driving up to this golf tournament, so we're going together. So I'm driving. Detour. Great. Let's take the detour. This isn't the time when there's no GPS on the phones. So we get on this back road, and then we find this bridge that's not. You can't go across the bridge. You have to go down here. Transmission goes out in the car. Of course, we didn't have a cell phone, I don't think. And if we did have a cell phone, we ended up calling Dad. And Dad, the car's in drive. The car's not going forward. We got an issue. Where are you at? Michigan. That's as close as I can get you, Michigan. Somehow we get the car to some place where I can tell him, and we actually ended up getting it to the golf course somehow by a miracle. And he ends up driving up with his car, and we drive all the way back to Angola because the transmission only go out when it was hot. So as long as we stopped every so often, we could make it home. So that was kind of a first unique experience. I'm surprised my wife still travels with me after that one. The other thank you is definitely to my wife. So she plays golf. She's a good golfer, as much as I don't probably admit that enough. We played couples golf and shot 47 in alternate shot last night, or Wednesday night, so that wasn't very good. But the thing that I'm probably the most proud of what we're doing right now is I'm the golf professional at Pretty Lake Golf Club. And we have about 30 juniors in our junior program that we teach. I say we, it's her and I, because I can't handle 30 kids by myself. That she helps me teach, and then we do a Boys and Girls Club clinic. And actually, I'm in the process of right now starting our first tee program down there that she's going to be involved with. So our major ministry that we do right now is in golf. That's the easiest way to get them involved. Like I said, she thinks it's pretty staggering. We've done this for, 5 years now. We only had one kid get hit with a golf club. That's pretty good. And to do that. So that's, that story in itself, I think, is going to grow. We're going to get into the public school system. We're going to get into the Boys and Girls Club to get them to get more involved in golf. Unfortunately, golf's a declining sport a little bit. So the last story I guess I'll share before we move on to the next inductee is today was probably I want to say it's probably the first time I've been back to Blackthorn since we won our team conference championship there. I was lucky enough. Stephen Ford from Marion was in the same class I was, and Stephen won individual honors his freshman year. I won it the sophomore year. He won it his junior year, and then we're sitting there on 18. Actually the 9th hole, but it was our 18th hole, and we have to make a number. I can't remember the number, but I have to make a number, and we win the team championship. And that was, for me, was much more important than where I stood individually. So I find out that we won the team championship. We're excited. I know the team was excited. And then coach tells me, oh, yeah, by the way, individually, you got to go play in a playoff. So for me, it was like, okay, well, that's cool, but I kind of want to celebrate with my teammates. I really don't want to play in this playoff, to be honest with you. And I even asked the question today. I remember number 10 like it was yesterday with the playoff. I can't remember 11, 12, or 13. And I remember I won it on 14 with a putt, and then I remember doing something really stupid, like I think I threw my putter up in the air and then ran, and then I think we threw ice on coach afterwards. I did all the kind of the cool stuff that the basketball teams get to do and the football teams get to do. I mean, we're just golfers, but we got to do some of that fun stuff. So that's the last. I'm so lucky that I found Bethel. My story the reason why I was here was Coach Wirtz had his son and a couple other people that had come to play here. So I knew of Bethel. And my big decision of what led me to here, and in God's way of leading me to here, was I was fortunate enough to play in high school right away. And my sole decision, I don't even told Coach this, my sole decision-making process was wherever I went to college, I wanted to make an impact now. I didn't think I would handle. Ryne thinks he can't lose very well. I'm pretty bad at it too. So my thing was I wanted to play now. I wanted to be on the team. I didn't want to be one of those 6 guys that doesn't get to travel and will work our way up into it. I was not that person. I needed a place that I could have played and made an impact today. And that's really what led me to Bethel. And then it was so much bigger than that once I got here. But that was really the decision making. I remember the backtrack, I guess. The first college tournament, we're ready to go play. And that's like a big deal to me. I want to play today. I don't want to sit. So finally, we're at Morris Park, and we've played qualifiers. I don't really know if we knew where they stood. And Coach goes, okay, everybody, we got everybody around there. We're leaving at 9 o'clock on Sunday to do or whatever time it was. I go up to Coach. I go, am I going? Am I playing? I don't know. And he goes, he kind of looked at me like a dumbfounded face, and he goes, well, yeah, you're going, you're playing. So that was kind of my biggest fear was to play. I wanted to be part of the team. So I was lucky to be part of great teams. Coach talks about me being the turning point, I guess. I'm very lucky that I was in the position I was in. He had players in here. To be said to be the guy that made the difference, there needed to be a lot of things before that person ever walked in the door to make that happen. And the team that I came in as a freshman was very good and capable. I just was lucky enough to be the guy that stepped in the door and was able to take the opportunity and maybe advance the program. Hopefully we keep advancing the program forward. That's my goal in the future. So thank you for your time. Congratulations to the 2018 class of inductees. Like I said, you look through the list of everybody that's been inducted. It's a very special group to be involved with, and I'm very honored to be part of that group.
As many of you know, we've had a very successful track program here at Bethel College. In fact, this past year we won 2 more national championships for the National Christian College Athletic Association. Our next inductee is someone who's contributed greatly to the success of our track program, Staci Weisser, and her presenter tonight is her coach, Coach Tony Natale.
What the heck are you doing? Staci, don't even let these guys fool you. They said they go in alphabetical order. They're going so they don't have to keep moving this thing up and down all the time, so that's why I'm last. No question about it. It's an honor to be up here to help introduce Staci. She's been a huge part of just putting this program on the map and just done some great things. So you can read in the program there, but she's a 3-time NAI All-American at a point when the program had just started and we didn't have multiple All-Americans at that point. And Staci, you really need to thank Coach Lightfoot, Dennis. They're both here tonight because they're the ones that I don't have no idea why, but brought me here. And I don't know what they saw in that, but probably saw somebody shorter than Coach Lightfoot was. He could make fun of every day at work. But anyway, you know, it's just an honor to be able to introduce you. But you were one of the first people to be a multiple NAI All-American. And then you were a 4-time NCCA national champion, which we didn't have hardly any at that point either. So you kind of broke the ground, and probably the biggest thing Staci brought to the program was she was a part of a group that started the culture of what Bethel Track really wanted to be. We're very different than a lot of track programs. We were very different back then. We're still different now. We have some current track kids here, and they make fun of me every day, and that's all right. But we just have a good time, you know, and we're just blessed that we'd be able to do what we can. And Staci was part of that groundbreaking group that was able to do that. But she was involved, as you can read, through the jumps, high jump, triple jump, long jump. She was a multi-event person, which is pretty amazing in itself. She was a pole vaulter, which is pretty amazing in itself as well. But she did many things. But most importantly, those aren't the most important things she did. Most importantly, when she came in the program, she was shorter than I was, which was awesome. So that's one thing I saw in her right away. And she's wearing heels tonight, which I'm really ticked off at. But anyway, but most importantly, so what she did is she was a great role model. She's just a great role model for the kids. Ryne talked about leaving a legacy. She was a great role model for those kids that came after her. Her work ethic was phenomenal. She would come up to me during meets after she would win long jump and say, hey, can I get in this relay? Can I do this? Can I do that? And most kids, as you know in track, want to do the opposite. They're like, I don't want to run anymore. I got this hamstring that's hurting or this hurting. And she wanted to just keep doing things. She did things the right way. She did things the right way, and everything that she accomplished here, she did it in an upward manner. And probably the coolest thing that before I leave is just to let you know that she's impacting people now. She's been coaching for many, many years, and she's been taking that impact to those kids that she comes in contact with. When I have an opportunity to go to a meet and just see some of her kids, you can just tell that she has a tremendous impact in their life. So again, as you've heard many times tonight, I won't be repeated again, but what Bethel does to able to allow the impact continually to be passed down is pretty special. And it starts with people like Coach Lightfoot and Dennis, and then just keeps going down from the coaching staff and into our athletes. And it's just really cool to see that impact just keep going through high school kids throughout the state of Indiana and in the Midwest. It's really cool to see. So without anything else, I just want to take this time to introduce Staci Weisser.
I guess first I'd like to congratulate the other inductees. So congratulations with that. I found out about 5 minutes before the dinner started I was supposed to have a speech prepared, so I do not have a whole lot prepared for you guys tonight, so I'll just kind of wing it. I do want to thank some people, though. I want to thank the college for giving me the opportunity to come here to not only compete in track and a couple other sports I did here, but to help me to grow spiritually. I thank you guys for that opportunity. I may have told some people here, some may not know, but in looking at schools, I had kind of ruled Bethel out because I didn't know much about the track program and I wanted to compete in track. I was actually writing Bethel the letter saying, I'm not going to come, but thanks for thinking about me. I was going to go to Goshen. And as I was writing that letter, I realized that I hadn't visited Bethel, and that I really wanted to give it a shot and see what it was. And I came and fell in love with it. I thought chapel was just amazing. One of the other obstacles was the financial piece to come here. Goshen offered me more money than I would get for coming here, and Bethel was grateful enough, and I'm grateful to them. They matched that, so I was able to come here. So I thank Bethel for that opportunity. Coach Natali, I thank you for the mentoring over the years, for just all that you've done, the knowledge you've given me, and that I've been able to pass that on to the athletes I coach now in track and cross country. I appreciate that. And thanks to my family and friends for all your guys' support. And I also want to just thank God for giving me the ability that he did. It's been amazing in all the ways that he's blessed my life and where he's led me, and what I've been able to do. I thank him most of all for that. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
So the large plaques that they had pictures with will be placed in the Dr. Beutler Hall of Fame over in Y Camp here shortly, and we do have a smaller plaque for each one of them to take home with them to commemorate this induction. So before we close, I would like the 4 inductees to please stand once again and let us all congratulate them. Please stand. And let me close with prayer. Father, again, we thank you for a great night. We thank you for great people that we could honor tonight. And most of all, we thank you that they honor you with their lives. And we ask that you will continue to bless them and lead them and guide them. Thank you for the fellowship that was shared tonight. And we give you all the praise and all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks for coming. You are dismissed. If you want to do pictures or anything with the family, you're welcome to come up front here too as well.